There has never been a more powerful time, as you already know, than right now for women to make a decision to become courageous in their personal life and in their business, and showing up and sharing their gifts, their talents, their wisdom, their truth than now. You've heard me say this over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to continue to say it because it's so true. I want to welcome you to the Women of Courage, Women of Destiny Telesummit. As we have, or as I have the opportunity to interview some amazing women who have taken the courageous step to really live their truth and their purpose like never before. And they have made this decision that this year, right now, and as we move into more of 2017, that it's time for us to share our voice much louder. It's time for us to give our gifts at a global level. It's time to live from our truth without apology and make a difference within ourselves, our family, our community, and the world. Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Jackson, founder and CEO of the Unlimited Woman Lifestyle and Business Network. Joining me today is Nancy Monson. Now, you know, well, you may not know, but I have a crush on Nancy. We've known each other for a while now, and each time I have an opportunity to talk to her, her truth, her spirit, her passion just really ignites my soul and heart, and rightfully so, because she is the founder and CEO of Everyday Spirituality. She speaks from a very deep place of understanding your spiritual truth that empowers you to live a rich and unlimited life. May I say that? Well, she's nodding, saying that's great. So my intention for this particular summit is to get more women to make a decision. You've already heard me say this before, but that word decision means to reach a definite conclusion inside yourself that says yes. That sacred yes that's coming from the depth of your being that says yes to showing up, living well, living large, whatever those words mean to you, but making it true, and then having the action steps, taking the action steps, taking the behaviors to making that true and come alive in your life. So Nancy, thank you so much for joining me and being a part of our book by the actual same name, Women of Courage, Women of Destiny, moving from fear to faith to freedom. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Anita. My joy, as always, to be here in support of you and the mission that you're on. It's really wonderful.
Yes, I'm excited. I love it. So, Nancy, let's start off by me asking you a few questions. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. So tell our audience a little bit about you and the why you do what you do so well.
Well, how I look at myself at this point in my life is as a soul purpose advocate. My business, Everyday Spirituality, is about living a soul-directed life every day. Not just once in a while, not just when I feel motivated, but every day, every moment of our life. And the Women of Courage book, that's what really inspired me to get involved and be one of the co-authors, is because I really think it takes huge courage to live our soul's calling, our soul's purpose, which is actually the greatest expression of who we are and who we were designed to be every day, because every day we're faced with choices, as you talked about, Anita, with decisions. We have to decide, are we going to follow our soul's calling, or are we going to fall into a lesser, more constricted, fear-based, limited thinking version of who we're meant to be? Mm-hmm. So I've spent, well over 20, almost 30 years now on my own spiritual journey, because I realized that I had a greater purpose and there was more to me than I was programmed by my childhood and my society. And so I just started that journey, and it's taken me through all kinds of amazing, difficult, challenging experiences that have brought me to this point today, which is why I know it's so hard, particularly for women in our society, to really face our fears and step into our full potential.
Yeah. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's start talking about, well, what does courage really mean? How do you define courage?
To me, courage is facing my fears. When I run up against something that creates a huge amount of fear response in me, then I have a choice. Do I choose to face that fear and look at it, find out what it means and why it's there, and then break through it? Which takes courage, it takes fortitude, it takes commitment, it takes a desire to overcome what is limiting us. That's how I define courage.
So most of you, obviously, I'm so looking forward to this book being published, because then you'll have an opportunity to read Nancy's story. And Nancy, within like a 2-minute period of time, can you give a quick synopsis of your story and why this plays into courage so well?
Well, it's so amazing, Anita, because I didn't really think about this, what the experience that I had, because it's been some time, but I was drawn to write about this story. And through the writing of the story, I realized how much courage that I really did demonstrate in a very life-threatening, for real, life-threatening situation. When I was with 3 other men climbing Mount McKinley, we know as Denali, which is the highest peak in North America. It's 20,230 feet. And our leader, my partner, developed cerebral edema on our summit bid. We were 1 hour from the summit. We've been on the mountain for over 14 days, struggling, preparing for summiting over a year, and he became incapacitated. And I had to stand up for what I knew to be the right decision, in contrast to my colleagues, my teammates, who wanted to do whatever was needed so that they could get the summit.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of courage in a very difficult situation for me to get them to go along.
In the story, you also mentioned, because of the decision you made and because you stood your ground, you basically saved his and everyone else's life.
Yeah, I think that's
playing it down, but I'm like, no, she saved 4 people's lives. It's huge.
Yes, that's true. I mean, the statistics were not in our favor to stay up there. And it's pretty likely that somebody, at least one, maybe all of us, would have perished, or at minimum been severely injured.
And so, when she shared that story and I was reading it, I was like just turning the page like, wow, really? Oh my gosh, because Nancy's so quiet and she's so fun and she's just this, beautiful woman. You wouldn't have thought that there's a powerhouse in there when you first connect, because she's so sweet. But I'm like, I knew it. She's been hiding it. It's in there. I told you. So, I say this, lovingly and very, encouragingly, because here's a woman who, in a life-threatening situation where men tend to take over in those situations, she had to stand her ground, find her voice, and say, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not moving from this spot. This is what we need to be doing. And of course, later on, the men find out she was right, because her intuition, her wisdom, and her spirit was sharp enough to know this is not the right decision to make. I just thought that was powerful.
Aww, thank you. Yeah, like I said, Anita, I didn't realize the gravity of that experience until I wrote about it. So thank you for that opportunity.
I'm glad. Well, I'm very happy that I was a part of bringing that forward. And so how does courage fit into, you were talking about a little bit earlier, the soul-directed life. So how does courage fit into that?
I find in my own experience and of the women, mostly women that I've been coaching and guiding for many years, that we all deal with 3 things that I think that limit us as women. We have self-doubt.
Yes.
Right? We doubt our truth. We doubt our wisdom, which we were just talking about, having to stand in that in a difficult situation. I've worked with a lot of executive women, and they run into this all the time. They doubt their own intuitive guidance and their own wisdom and their own experience. They have a lot of negative, we have a lot of negative self-talk, which gets, conditioned through our experiences. And then I think the third, which I really feel we don't recognize the gravity of this influence, is societal conditioning.
Yes.
There's a lot still in the collective unconscious about the role of women and what's okay and what's not okay. And it comes out in very subtle ways. And it really, from our own doing and from the society's reinforcement, we self-sabotage. Yes. And that's where I think courage is required to really live your full potential.
I really appreciate you saying that, because you're actually bringing forth I think a little bit, I'm taking notes. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm writing down what you're saying, because I think what you said is so powerful. Especially that last part of, our negative self-talk. We don't talk about it enough, and our societal conditioning. It's there. And it's funny because we know it's there, but we may not know exactly how to, quote unquote, break through or overcome it or release it so that it no longer has a powerful effect. If you, Nancy, were going to share one strategy to help us overcome that, what would your strategy be?
There's a whole bunch. So let's see, which one do I want to share? So the one that popped up, because, I was doing a little preparation with before the call. The one that popped up for me was my meditation. Yeah. My meditation practice, which I started 20 years ago, this month actually, really helped me to start to have more awareness. And it helped me take a step away from all that negative self-talk. If I can't see it and witness it, then I'm stuck in it. Right. And that's where I felt that has been the greatest help for me in helping me to see it, and then I can do something about it. But witnessing it is the first step, I think, and it's very powerful.
I like that a lot. Meditation's really become more a part of my own visual success practices. And if I were to add on to that, I would probably say once you witness it, once you become aware of what it is, then writing it out. There's something very powerful about taking a pen, putting it in your hand, and writing on a white piece of paper. And the science behind it is using a blue pen with white ink, because it actually helps you process your emotions and your thoughts a lot better than any other color pen. That's just a little side note there. But writing it all out and using it with your hands, because all of the muscles in your hand actually triggers more in your brain, is a powerful way to release and process through information just as well. So I love that. So meditating and writing and really going for it, really releasing those fears that are holding us back from showing up in a very dynamic and powerful way. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about fear.
Okay.
How do you find fear?
Wow, I've been thinking about this because I know it's one of the thoughts that you wanted us to chat about today. And to me, fear is a very visceral experience. It feels like my whole body just tightens up, my chest tightens up, my breathing is like about this deep, and I actually feel my throat tighten up, and it's terrifying. It's this fear. And back in the day when I first started this whole journey, I was in several personal growth classes, and they identified fear as an acronym, which I'm sure many of us know: false expectations appearing real. So it's about,
because I've heard of false evidence appearing real.
I think both of them fit. Because the false expectations is about some fear, some nervousness that I have about something that will happen in the future. Yeah. Not in this moment. Yeah. Fear does not exist in this moment. It's the fear, it's the nervousness, it's the response of something happening in the future that I don't want to have happen. And that's what limits us.
I love your definition of that. Is we as women, because we're dreamers and we're visionaries and we're always thinking ahead, part of that is our survival mechanism as women automatically. So we have to really learn how to kind of overcome this idea of surviving. Not that I don't want you to suffer, or I want you to suffer, but I want you to thrive, but looking at it from different perspectives. That's a whole nother conversation for another telesummit. But fear for me has really been understanding or realizing kind of what you were talking about, this awareness of, I'm not believing in myself enough. I believe in something else a lot more than I believe in myself. Mm-hmm. And because of that, whatever that thing is, it's created fear. So it's the same kind of concept of, I'm looking so much outside of me, I'm looking so much ahead of me, I'm not staying present to this moment, I'm not acknowledging where I am, who I am, and what I've learned. I've allowed this fear, like, what if they don't like me? Well, I don't even know that. I've never done it before, so how am I know if they're going to like me or not? I'm projecting something that's not even true.
Yes.
And now that's preventing me from moving forward. I think that's the thing that, as a coach, I can't tell you how often I see this one, where women who are coaches or speakers or leaders, or at least they want to be, have amazing messages, but aren't actually out there sharing their brilliance because they're afraid. And what, instead of using the word fear, they'll say, oh, I'm not ready. I hear that phrase all the time. I have to finish this. I have to do that. And I'm like, that's what's holding you back. Just put it out there. Just do it. And then adjust along the way like the GPS. I mean, it'll actually change your life and your business a whole lot more. I'm not saying be haphazard. I still think there's a level of excellence that needs to come forward. But this fear is crippling us to the degree that we're not making the high level impact that we could. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I'd like to ask you, what question do I want to ask you now? How do you help your clients find the choice they need to face their fear and overcome them?
That's a great question. There's not one method, because I really feel that every person has their own unique journey. But the main theme, I guess I would say, the main generality is there's some belief that they have about something that's going to happen or some consequence of an action. And we look deeply into what is the source of that belief. A lot of times it goes back to some early childhood experience. There's methods that I use, mindset shifting methods, to go back into the first experience they remember when they felt the same feeling. And then we look at that and look at what decision was made that caused them to play small, to be safe. And then we look at how to reprogram that. And we change that. We shift it. We get the learning, and then we shift that experience so that they can let go of the emotional attachment to that. And then that changes their whole life going forward. So we do a lot of mindset work that really helps the woman to make a different choice so that she's not being limited by earlier decisions that no longer are relevant.
Yeah. That's really it. That's the foundation, is working on your mindset, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, your behaviors, all of those things that encompass a mindset, and shifting them to a new perspective of now, rather than what's been operating for the past 5, 10, 20, maybe sometimes 30 or 40 years that could prevent you from actually living your life really well. So, let's go to the next level. Let's talk a little bit about faith. And when I mention the word faith, I'm talking about it from not only from a faith in God or a religious perspective, but faith in yourself. How do you define faith, and how do you think that aligns with, works with, partners with courage?
So in my spiritual guidance training years ago, we had a saying, the soul knows the way even when the ego doesn't. And to me, that's the essence of faith, is knowing that my soul, my spark of the divine, of the universe that I carry, that's my essence, knows everything that I need to know about living my best life. And that's the fear comes from the ego not trusting that the soul knows the way. And to me, that takes faith.
Yes. So the reason why I'm going to take a little bit of a pause here and we'll go off, script a little bit with Nancy, only because of what she offers as a coach. So Nancy offers, could you say the name for me again? It's the, what's that technique you took me through?
Oh, human design.
Thank you. Like all of a sudden my brain went blank. So she offers this particular assessment and coaching process called the human design, which really does support you in connecting to your soul. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
So this particular process, I personally want to encourage every single one of you to contact Nancy and have her take you through her process. And the reason being is when Nancy and I met and she took me through the human design process, I was there with really big eyes like, wow, and my mouth was on the floor. Because I'm very intuitive, I'm very self-aware, do a lot of introspective work, so I know me really well. I know me better than anybody else. I know where my weaknesses are, I know what my strengths are. So to have this particular assessment that she had me take be so on point and even share a few things more that I suspected but wasn't really sure because, I didn't have enough evidences to validate that it was true, that I dismissed it. And then she basically confirmed, this is who you are. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And so, Nancy, would you, for just a tiny bit, talk about human design and how this could be so powerful in helping a person become even more courageous, if it's okay to do that?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I mean, what you experienced, Dr. Anita, is so much of what all of my clients, I mean, I've done hundreds, probably close to at least 1,000, maybe more readings since I learned this system. And every single one of them spot on, scary spot on, because it's so deeply accurate. And what I love about it is it affirms who you truly are. I call it the soul's blueprint. Yes. Because it reveals, it's a system that came onto the earth, came onto our humanity in the late 80s, and it is incredibly accurate, much more accurate for where we are as a species in our own evolution than any of the other systems that we've used in the past. That's what makes it so powerful. It not only liberates because it affirms who you truly are, but it also reveals how to be the most successful in your business, with your relationships, and how to live your life's purpose, your soul's purpose. So it's incredibly affirming, and also can be used, as I call it, a GPS for living a soul-directed life.
And I have to tell you, it's interesting because as I'm remembering our session together, which was a while back, it was earlier this year, a long time ago, I'm looking back and realizing it's kind of funny. I've had a couple of things during this time frame that really confirmed my dream and my vision for myself. And one of the things that came forward out of my human design session was that I am a world leader. Just, it was very huge. She said, right in the center, you are a leader. You need to be very seen and very known and very big. And I never, for the longest time, because I had challenges with not feeling good enough myself, which is where the I'm enough message really came from and got birthed in me. I wasn't owning in a bigger level that was my biggest desire. I pushed it to the side, I hid it, and I did the comfortable thing. I went to school, I got a degree, and I became a therapist, a psychotherapist, and organizational psychologist. And I'm good at it. And I proudly say I know what I'm doing when it comes to those areas. I love what I do, but it wasn't enough. And then when I finally, I didn't say I had to go through my own little series of challenges to get me to where I am today. But when God finally put me in this position where I had to make a decision that I was going to show up and be this leader, I can tell you now I can say that and say, I know I'm called to be a multimillionaire, a global leader that makes a global impact to women around the world. Whereas before I wouldn't say that. Now I found my voice, I found my power in that. I'm excited about it. Are there things I still need to do to make that happen? Absolutely. But I think the moment you have that awareness and that kind of truth and facts that you give to the human design purpose, it makes it so much easier to be confident and to, in faith, walk this thing, your life, your calling through. Would I be accurate in saying that? That's what I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a reading for a 72-year-old woman recently, and by the end of the reading, she was in tears because she realized that for most of her life, she'd been fighting what she knew to be who she was. And she just said, I wish I would have known this 30 years ago. It would have changed my life. And to me, that's what inspires me to do this work. I've had the great honor to do readings for a couple of 16-year-old boys, young men, and it has changed their lives, literally. And to think of how wonderful they now can go forward in being who they are and not have to go through 30 years of fighting from their inner truth, right? So I just feel so incredibly blessed and honored to be able to do this type of service for those who are really ready to step into to courageously step into their purpose.
And that's what this whole entire summit, that's what my intentions with the Unlimited Woman Lifestyle and Business Network is all about, is finally it's almost like I'm trying to turn on a light switch on in every single person that finally says, I'm awake enough to go, oh my gosh, finally I've arrived. I've arrived spiritually, I've arrived mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, sensually, sexually, and eventually financially, so that I can actually make an impact in my family, community, and the world. And I think it's time. I know it's time. I'm not going to say I think.
Absolutely.
I know it's time. It's time for us as women to do it more effective. And the men will follow, our children will follow, everything will follow right behind it. And it's time to say, you know what, enough's enough. And that's why I love this conversation so much. So let's start talking a little bit about when we become courageous enough to live our authentic soul DNA design. I'm going to use that.
I like that.
I thought you said it. Oh, I said it? Okay. I thought you said it. So your soul DNA design, when you start to live from that truth, I believe you start to experience a higher level of freedom. So Nancy, how do you define freedom, and why is it so important today, now, for women around the world?
I'm writing that down. I like that soul DNA design. I said it a little differently, but I like how you said it. So yes, freedom. To me, freedom, for me personally, and I think this is true for most people, it's the freedom our own freedom to live our highest calling, to live our true essence, to be as grand and as big and as creative and as expressive as we're designed to be. And that to me is true freedom. Freedom to choose in every moment what is the highest service for ourselves, which naturally means for everyone else.
Yeah. So freedom for me, it's kind of funny because the more I look at freedom and I'm thinking about it, I study about it, pray about it, meditate on it, do research on it, it really is about just being fearless.
Yeah.
And limitless. Like freedom to me is like there's nothing there. It's all released, it's all gone. I'm so open that I can allow things to come in if I'm intentional, the right things coming in, and then I can release certain things without having it affect me or affect someone else in a negative type of way. It's just there. It's like flow, to be honest with you. Just come out and there's nothing hindering it. There's no limitations, there's no inhibitions. It's just there. It's just open. And I'm like, wow. And then if you concentrate that freedom on a specific area of your life or relationships, then I think that creates something else, but that's another conversation as well. I love this. I love this. I love this. Is there anything on your mind or your heart that you would like to talk about that would continue to empower women to become courageous and live from their soul DNA design?
Yeah. So I wanted to just say one thing when you talk about the time is now, Anita. So a year or two ago, I think it's been a little bit of time ago, I happened to come across the statement by the Dalai Lama at the 2009 Peace Conference in Vancouver, where he said he believed that Western women were going to save the world. No more important is that than today.
Right.
And what's happening right now in our country and in the world, that Western women, we have to step up.
Yes.
Or the world may not survive.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Woo, you give me chills on that one. I'm like, it's so funny because if we, I don't want to make this a political talk.
Yeah.
I'm not going into that at all. But what I appreciate about what has happened because of the policies of America, of the United States, is that it made it so clear, like you just said, that if women don't take themselves and their responsibility seriously as women being the cornerstone, being the character maker, developers of our children,
yes,
being the leaders and the influences of our family, if we don't step up, we're going to die. I'm going to be that bold.
Yeah.
And it may be a spiritual, energetic, and then a physical death.
Yeah.
So you can no longer be playing. You don't have any more time. Pure and simple. You just don't have any more time. So stop being afraid and do it. And I promise you one thing, the moment you take the step to just show up and saying fear no longer exists, fear no longer exists. It just stops, disappears. And each time you take a step further towards that direction, you get more confident, you get more stronger, and it dissipates even more. Nancy, I love talking to you.
It's always a fun time.
It's fun with you. So already you know that Nancy has some great information to really support you in learning how to tap into your soul DNA design, your human design, how you were created so that you can live an unlimited, abundant, prosperous, successful, outrageously successful life and business. And it's up to you to finally make that decision. Remember, the word decision means to reach a definite conclusion. that means somewhere inside you just have to say, done. Done deal. I've made a decision. This is what's going to happen. And as soon as you do, I promise you, your life will start to change like that. I'm looking forward to getting our book, Women of Courage, Women of Destiny, Moving from Fear to Faith to Freedom, in your hands in the month of March. Until then, check out all the information we have below for some of the free gifts that our authors have for you. And we want you to live an unlimited and outrageously successful life. Nancy, again, thank you so much for being with me today.
My joy, Anita.
Until then, to your unlimited success. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.